If you own a medical practice and you feel like the whole thing runs on you, this video is for you. I'm going to show you the 4 systems every practice needs to grow without burning out the owner. I'm a practicing vascular surgeon. I own a multi-location vein practice. So I'm not giving you theory from a business school. I'm giving you what actually holds up on a Monday morning when the schedule is full and 2 people called out sick. We call it the 4 M's: mindset, marketing, management, and money. 4 systems, in that order for a reason. By the end of this, you'll know which one is capping your practice right now and what to do about it. Here's what a plateau actually looks like. Revenue is fine. It's flat, but it's fine. You're working more hours than you did 3 years ago. Every important decision still routes through you. If you take 2 weeks off, collections drop. You've tried things. You hired a marketing agency, you got some leads, they didn't convert. You hired an office manager, and you're still the one solving problems. So you conclude you need to work harder or find better people. Almost always, that conclusion is wrong. The practice isn't short on effort, and it isn't short on talent. It's short on systems. A system is just a decision you only have to make once. When you don't have systems, every patient, every hire, and every dollar is a fresh decision, and the only person qualified to make it is you. That's the ceiling. It isn't your market. It isn't your competition. It's the fact that you are the operating system. So let's talk about the 4 systems. Mindset is how you think about the practice, and specifically whether you see yourself as a doctor who owns a business or a business owner who happens to practice medicine. Marketing is how patients find you and choose you predictably without you begging for referrals. Management is how work gets done when you're not the one doing it, so people, process, and accountability. And money is how you actually keep what you produce, so billing, collections, margin, and the numbers you look at every week. Every practice has all 4, whether they've designed them or not. The difference is whether yours were built on purpose or whether they just accumulated. And here's the part people miss. They're sequential. You cannot fix marketing with a broken mindset because you'll refuse to spend the money. You cannot fix money before management because you'll be optimizing chaos. Let me take them one at a time. Mindset. This one sounds soft, so people skip it, and then everything downstream fails. Here's the concrete version. Most physicians were trained to be the product. You went through medical school, residency, fellowship, and every single incentive told you the same thing. Be excellent personally. Nobody teaches you to build something that produces results without you in the room. So we build practices where the owner is the bottleneck by design, and then we're surprised when we can't scale. The shift is this. Stop asking, how do I see more patients? Start asking, how does this practice see more patients? Those are completely different questions with completely different answers. The first one ends at the number of hours you can physically work. The second one has no natural ceiling. Practically, the mindset shift shows up in 3 behaviors. 1, you start buying back your time instead of protecting your ego about who does what. 2, you accept that someone doing a job at 80% of your standard consistently beats you doing it at 100% occasionally. And 3, you start spending money on growth as an investment with a return, not as an expense that hurts. If you're not there yet, don't touch the other 3. Misfix this first. Marketing. Here's the mistake almost every practice makes. They treat marketing as advertising. It's not. Marketing is the entire system that takes a stranger and turns them into a scheduled, shown up, treated patient. Advertising is one small piece of that, which is why so many practices spend money on ads and get nothing. The ads worked, the system behind them didn't. There are 4 pieces. First, attention. People have to know you exist. Ads, content, community presence, referring physicians. Second, capture. When they raise their hand, you get their name, number, and email into a system you own. Not a phone that rings out, not a form nobody checks. Third, follow up. This is where the money is, and it's where almost everyone fails. A patient who inquires and doesn't book is not a dead lead. They're a lead you abandoned. If you're not following up at least 6 or 7 times across text, email, and phone, you're throwing away patients you already paid to acquire. And fourth, conversion. Someone whose actual job is to get that person on the schedule and get them to show up. Notice that 3 of those 4 pieces have nothing to do with ads. That's the point. Most practices don't have a lead problem, they have a follow-up problem. Management. This is how work gets done when you're not doing it. And the honest test is simple. If you disappeared for 2 weeks, what breaks? Whatever breaks, that's a system you never built. Management has 3 layers. First, people. The right person in the right seat with a clear scorecard. Most practices hire for warm bodies and vague job descriptions, then get frustrated when the outcome is vague. If you can't say in one sentence what a role is accountable for and how you'd measure it this week, you haven't defined the job. Second, process. Documented, repeatable, boring. How a new patient gets scheduled, how a no-show gets rescheduled, how a claim gets worked. When these live only in someone's head, that person becomes a single point of failure, and you will pay for it the day they resign. Third, accountability, a rhythm, a short weekly meeting where you look at the same handful of numbers, name what's off, and assign an owner and a date. Not a status meeting where everyone says they're busy. Here's what nobody tells you. Good management is what makes marketing profitable. You can double your leads, but if the front desk drops half of them, you just doubled your waste. Management is the multiplier on everything else. Money. Revenue is what you produce, money is what you keep. And the gap between those 2 numbers is where most practices quietly bleed. 3 areas. First, billing and collections. Claims denied and never reworked. Underpayments, nobody catches because nobody reconciles against the contract. Patient balances that just sit there. This is the most expensive, neglected area in medicine, and it's invisible because nothing bad visibly happens. The money simply never arrives. Second, margin per service. Most owners can tell you their busiest procedure. Far fewer can tell you their most profitable one. Those are frequently not the same. And when you don't know the difference, you optimize your schedule for the wrong thing. Third, the numbers you actually watch. Not the year-end tax return, a weekly dashboard, collections, cost to acquire a patient, show rate, days in accounts receivable, revenue per provider. 5 to 7 numbers you look at every single week. Here's the mindset piece bleeding back in. Most physicians avoid this because the numbers feel judgmental, so they look once a year and hope. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at. The practices that scale are not the ones with the best clinical outcomes. They're the ones that also look at the money weekly. Now, here's why the order matters. These 4 aren't a menu. They're a sequence, and each one multiplies the next. Mindset unlocks your willingness to invest and delegate. Management builds the machine that can actually handle more volume. Marketing pours volume into that machine. And money tells you whether any of it is working and funds the next round. Run them out of order and you get predictable failures. Marketing before management means you buy leads and drop them. Money before mindset means you cut costs instead of building capacity, and you shrink your way to a plateau. Management without marketing means you build a beautiful, efficient machine with nothing flowing through it. The good news is You don't need all four to be excellent. You need all four to be functional and one to be a genuine strength. The practice that's stuck is almost never weak in all four. It's usually strong in two and has one that's quietly capping everything else. So, which one is it for you? Be honest and score yourself out of 10 on each. Mindset. Do you think like an owner, or are you still the highest paid employee in your own building? Marketing. If you needed 20 more consults next month, do you have a lever you can pull, or would you just hope? Management. What breaks if you leave for 2 weeks? Money. Can you tell me your collections and your cost per acquired patient this week without looking it up? Whichever score is lowest, that's your constraint. And here's the leverage. Working on your strongest M feels good and changes almost nothing. Working on your weakest M feels uncomfortable and changes everything, because your practice grows at the rate of its weakest system, not its best one. So here's what I'd do this week. Pick your weakest M, just one. Then pick the single smallest thing inside it that you could fix in the next 7 days. If it's marketing, build the follow-up sequence for the leads you're already getting. If it's management, write down one process that currently lives only in your head. If it's money, pull your denied claims from the last 90 days and see what's sitting there unworked. If it's mindset, hand off one task this week that you know you shouldn't be doing. Small, specific, this week. That's how this actually changes. If you want help figuring out where you stand, we built a free AI audit of your practice at PractiScale.ai. No sales call, no pitch. You answer some questions, you get a real assessment across all four. Miss, thanks for watching. Go pick your weakest M and start there.